Do you want to mention it quick?
Okay. The question that some of us had is, the screens look a little bit clearer or crisper today, or the tabs don't look as busy. I was wondering if they're on a different version or whatever. And Paula explained.
What happens, the database that I have today, when we do testing and when we work with districts, we do building a lot of custom tabs. And I took out all of the custom tabs so that what you were seeing were core campus tabs of data that come with the product. What I think you saw last, but I know you saw last time, was a lot of custom tabs that were added. So those are all gone, which is why it looks different. It's just that I took them out because I didn't want to have to deal with it.
And they're also showing the Ohio version, where the EMIS fields are more integrated within the system,
right,
rather than being separate tab-like.
Right.
Still scrambled data, but aesthetically, I thought it looked different than what we had seen at Lake. And I was asking if it's a different version or something. But I think it looks a lot more crisp and there's less busyness.
And yeah, it's because of all the custom tabs that were there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. She thought we should share that with all of you. All right. So before lunch, we stopped. We just started talking about the EMIS extracts. We talked about where that data is stored, and I want to wrap up with showing you where the rest of it's stored, and then how can we pull data out differently rather than via extracts, which is, you know, the built-in process. So we talked about the enrollment. We looked at all the different EMIS fields and all of the tables that had drop-downs or EMIS-controlled fields, and they are complying with the state requirement. In the census demographics area, this is where your home language is for Ohio. Okay, this is different than other states. In Minnesota, we use numbers, not alpha characters. While I'm here, I'm going to touch on two other things we talked about. One is identities. In Infinite Campus, we track identities. So when a person gets a name change, so let's say you have a student and their name is John Smith, Susie Smith. And Susie Smith goes to the school district and graduates as a 12th grader. And when Susie Smith gets out of college, she comes back and she's a teacher. So it's the same record. Now she's no longer, we get rid of her student number, we'll track that, what you delete from that, and we make her a staff person. And then she gets married. Well, we don't just go in and wipe out Smith as her last name and give her a new one. We actually use the identity tab and we create a new last name. What that does, we create a new last name and date the previous identity of this person, and then the new name, and it will automatically put the end date. So when you do a search for Smith, if you search for Susie Smith, you would see in your search window both the new old name and the new name. So we never get rid. So kids who go through name changes, we do the same thing. Don't just change the last name. Create a new identity with the new name. So we track old and new. And you could do that 99 times if you wanted to. You do it 120 times. There's no limit to it. But the search is really complete because we're not going to remember Susie Smith, 10 years from now. Does that make sense? We do the same thing with households. So if I go to my search and I do a search on the household, and I just did it for my student here, here is household. If he changes addresses, we're going to end date. I'm sorry, let me go to the household in the right way. We're going to do the address. We're going to end date the address and find the new address and tie it to the student. So now you can see the mobility of your families across time from your district perspective. So we don't just change it, we keep track of all the history. Okay, and I know that was some questions in your list that help keep track of that. All right, so outside of my census demographics again, so at this level we're tracking the student demographics, your race and ethnicity, your language, we've got all of our enrollment information, and then we're going to go into some other areas where we keep things for students. So in the student information general area, we track the graduation. Now one of the, I'm sorry, where's my tab called graduation? There it is. This is where we're going to track the graduation and how this populates. There was a question about, can we mass fill this? We really don't have to mass fill it because that gets managed electronically. So when you enroll a new student When they get to ninth, or if you enroll a student in their ninth grade, this will auto-populate off of your default settings that you have set up. If you have a transfer student, this is going to default automatically. When you do your enrollment roll forward and you're moving kids from 8th grade to ninth grade, this is going to happen automatically. So you don't have to go and pre-populate, it will do it. When kids graduate and you end their 12th grade record, you're going to give them the defaults that you want, and you can do that by groups of kids, by grade levels, by schools, whatever you want, and then it will mass apply that to their end date and into the graduation tab. So a lot of it's done with Wizard tools and automatically taken care of based on enrollment processes within Infinite Campus.
Quick question on the ninth grade, can you override it?
You sure can. You sure can. You're the boss. Remember, it's your data. We want to make it easy for the masses, but yes, individually you have the power to change that if you have the permissions to change it. Okay? Then, so that's all in here and all ready for you to use. And it's all based on Ohio. All right, outside of that graduation tab, we have the gifted and talented information. And the first thing I'm going to do is just scroll down into my programs file and talk about the gifted batch update. This is another Wizard tool where you will be able to mass update. You can create records or you can update records. And again, you can do it by building, by grade level, by the whole district. And of course, then you're going to choose your screenings. Now, if you notice, if I come down, when we do our Wizard tools, and this is true for direct certification, it's true for the gifted batch update, it's true for several other places, you're able to test the import. So before you do anything to really change the records, if you run a test, it's going to give you the results of what it's going to do in a PDF so that you can make sure it's the results that you want. We do that with the direct certification file as well. So whatever, we do it with assessments. So before you import and really change your data elements, it's really important to test it to see what it's going to do. And it's going to give you that information. Does that make sense? And that's what it's doing here. You can validate and test before you actually create or update your records. And that is going to populate back in our student area. We have the gifted tab, the gifted information, and program participation. And this is what it's going to show you when you mass update it at its individual student level. Okay? And so it has that information right here. And of course, it will be historical. And it will show you, it always groups things by years for the student, and then you can always visit what happened last year and the year before this year. Okay. So that's the gifted. We also have in this area, if I scroll back down again, flags. Flags are used for dual purpose. First of all, you can create flags. And you can identify it as being state reported, and then you apply these to the students. That's what's going to get pulled off for your extracts. But it's also another way that we can create flags to share information with families. So when I look back at my journal, my student has a food allergy, and I hover on it, says peanuts. Mike showed this earlier. So in this in my flags area, I have a lot of things identified as state reportable flags, but we're not showing it at the student level. But this one that says food allergies created in the same place, and it says flag it, create a flag for it. And then this is shared with anybody who has this student in their class. It's shared with anybody, in attendance. We can share it with point of sale information, but this is not state reportable because back when I created it, I didn't check the little flag that says this is state reportable. So it's a dual purpose thing. Anything that's up here, you can choose to make a state reportable or not. Food allergies is not. So that's our flag area. That's how we control that. Okay, and I'll just scroll through and show you how big the list is. And that's where you're putting your extracurricular stuff too. Okay, and then the reporting window. I forgot to mention that too. Right. I'm going to scroll back up and talk about the special ed. So We do have the Ohio forms built in for special ed, and there's a lot of setup, including creating the forms. But if I just print this, you can see what the result would look like for an Ohio IEP from campus. Okay. So there's your forms.
Paula, when we were looking at the course load, how many students were in the class, it showed how many were special ed. Is that based upon if they have an IEP in there, or is
Yes. Wait a minute. Is it based on IEPs or based on a state field that says there is? Okay, it's based on locked IEPs.
Locked IEP.
Right, because you can have IEPs that aren't locked, in other words, they're being worked on, and then when they become locked, there's a formal document where the stuff is pulled out of.
But it sounds like you guys are probably using something different for special ed. A lot of people do what's called like a skeleton IEP or a lightweight IEP, and it might just be accommodations in the basic state reported fields that come into campus, where then they maintain everything else for special ed in another system.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of Ohio districts use a state-provided system, I believe, or something like that.
There's state forms, but I don't know if there's a state provided.
No, there is no state.
Yeah.
There isn't? What are you
There's
guys
state
using
forms.
for special ed?
Yeah, it's all up across the board.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we do offer, and we have all of those components too.
It's all built in to campus, so. Okay.
Interesting.
Classroom teachers can see a flag if the student has an IEP. If they're a team member with read privileges, they can read the IEP. Mike showed how it could appear in the reports area on the portal. You know, so we can alert people to a child that has a 504, an IEP. If they're not a team member, they can't read the document. So again, different levels of security for different users within the district. Okay. Then we talked about staff earlier. Where do we track our staff who are highly qualified? And in their in the census, I gotta go back down to census demographics for people, we have what we called the district assignment. And in the district assignment, every teacher can have set their highly qualified information based on Ohio State reporting. And that will get pulled based on the sections and courses that they teach. So when we look at the courses and sections, there are things that were added and created for Ohio specific. So let me just pick up algebra 1 I'll pick on. So when I look at the course, if I scroll down, you'll see the things that are applicable for Ohio. Your delivery method, your educational option, your subjects, those are all based and then pulled. And then we have some things at the section level as well. There's that stuff. So those are the other places where data is collected and then pulled out for the extracts.
Just a quick question, do the teachers fill out their own highly qualified teacher field, or do they fill out a form and then someone enters it?
That's a great question. We have what we call self-service portal. And if you enable the self-service portal, you can give it to your teachers, and one of the tabs is called employment. They can notify you of changes. You know, they got so many credits, they got their masters, they're highly, whatever it is, they can notify you of that, and the person who gets that in their inbox can then go in and make that staff correction, but they cannot do it themselves, because when you give them access to staff, it would be all or none, but the self-service portal is a great way to do it, and then you can give that to the HR people or the EMIS people, whoever would be able to go in and change that, but they would be able to notify you of a change. So and that's part of their parents have, you can turn it on for parents too. Okay. Any other EMIS questions before I get out? Did I answer? Oh, I'm sorry, I did not. How do we pull? We have the extracts, but what's available in campus to do other things? Well, everybody, again, has ad hoc reporting. And in ad hoc reporting, we have Filter Designer, and I created a couple of things. So first of all, we can create a series of data elements. And if I edit this, you'll see that I am just collecting on the right-hand side of my selected fields. When it comes up on the left-hand side, you're going to see the data elements that you're able to pull from. We have all the learner stuff. If you need to find something because you don't know where it is, putting in the filter. Whoops. Wait a minute. What did I want? Oh, no, tuition type. No. I just did this the other day. Let's do grade. It'll pop up and show you the areas where the grade level is located so that you're pulling it from the right area. You pull the field level data you want, and I'm going to do this very quickly. Oops. Next, I get to do some filtering. So I said, show me, I want current enrollment records for kids that have tuition types equal to T for tuition, right? And when I pull that, or when the first time I created it, I did it just for Adams School. And when I save and test it, I'm going to get results just for Adams School. But, oops, there aren't any. So I'm going to switch to all schools. And when I run that very same query, the results are going to be different. So it depends on where you are pulling it from. So if I'm a person that only has access to a single school, and I run and create queries, it's from my school only. People who have access to all schools, when you run a report, you can still run it by individual building, or you can run it at the all schools level, and your results are going to be very different. So we have all of the Ohio data elements in the ad hoc reporting tools that will give you the ability to pull it out in a variety of ways. And that's located in the learner area, active and state localization elements. And so you'll see lots of different things. Red fields are deprecated fields. You can pull to see if there's any data in there, and the blue ones are the current fields. So you have ad hoc reporting available. And again, you can create those ad hoc reports. You can share them. So if I come back down to my ad hoc filters, I can share them with other people. So I can save them to other user groups. So an EMIS person could create an ad hoc report and share them with other user groups, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use what's out there. Okay.
ITC could make it for all the districts too.
Pardon?
The ITC could make it for all the districts. So if they have like a pass-through SQL query that might be a little more complex, they can save it, put it in the counselors folder, and then each counselor in each school would be able to access that as well.
So it's a great way to share ad hoc. Once you have those created, we do have data export. So if I wanted to take that very same data and I wanted to export it out into Excel, I could do that.
Well, that's right, Paula. Is data export different than data extract utility?
Data extract utility, data export is part of ad hoc, and that's part of core product. The data extract utility is a tool. First of all, Microsoft SQL backend. So if you have people who know Microsoft SQL, they can access 100% of the data fields, 100% of the tables through Microsoft SQL and write queries that way. The data extract utility was a tool that was created so that it resides within campus. It still requires SQL scripting, but you don't need back-end access to do it. You can do it from, it's a GUI interface, it's a report. So you can run these extracts, you can schedule them. So if you need to do an extract for your, let's say, transportation, and you want to run it every day and do an export file and stick it of kids whose addresses changed, and you want to put it in a location where the transportation department can pick it up, you can use data extract utility, create the extract, the export query, put it and schedule it to be done at the same time every day or whatever, once a week, and have dump the data in a location where another system can pick it up. So that is on the GUI side, not on the back side. Does that make sense? Okay.
So for the SQL, I'm a SQL guy, so when we write the SQL query, could we just write that in like Management Studio and then import them into the filter area as a report, or?
That's one option. We have a task scheduler where you can do a SQL statement right into the front end of Infinite Campus as well. She can open that up. We also, I don't know if they've told you in the past, we provide schema training. So that'd be good for you guys to take a look at because it goes through all the tables and views and everything. But you're either typically going to do it through the task scheduler or go right in through Studio typically.
Or data extract utility.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that puts it in task scheduler if you schedule it, so.
Now, is task scheduler a premium?
Nope, part of core product. When you do attendance, when you schedule attendance emails, when you schedule IEP notifications for an inbox, so you have 30 days, your case manager has 30 days till the next IEP is due. We schedule those things to occur regularly. That's stored in the task scheduler in Canvas. So it's part of a lot of other components as well.
Okay. Another kind of EMIS related question is, our customers are used to being able to mass update certain data fields.
Okay.
And it came up last time that the task scheduler would be used for that. But basically, they want to pick an ad hoc group and update a field just for those students. Not every time at a certain day or anything like that. It's more, I want to mass update the group of 9th graders to females or something.
Okay. There are tools in Canvas that allow you to do that. So the direct certification import file is a mass update. The assessment import score wizard is a mass update. I mean, there's other places where you have those tools. But beyond what's offered on the front end, you can update any field with SQL scripts. So, and you don't have to task scheduler to do that. If it's not going to be recurring, it's a thing one at a time. There is no mass update tool from the GUI side of Canvas.
So if something had to be done in the database, it would have to come back the ITC to do it.
Some districts do have the ITC do it. Some districts are self-sufficient. So it just depends on the district.
Well, if they're self-sufficient, does that mean they have the database and they have access to it?
Everybody in campus has access to their database. I don't care how you're hosted, whether the servers are in your district, whether it is on the cloud, whether you all can have access for these VC connections to your database. You just have to sign off and get your schema training, and then you get the keys to the kingdom. So some districts have SQL people on staff, and so they will do things independently of themselves. Some utilize their ITCs, their CISs, the BOCES, the regional centers. But it is your data, you have access to it, front end, back end. Does that make sense?
And I think what you'd find, just to add something to that, like Paula was saying, is people are used to being able to do mass updates and things like that. We have, over 15 wizards that are update wizards for specific things. So what districts tend to find is they typically don't need to go in too much to do that. But if they did and submitted a ticket, Infinite Campus could write that SQL script and give it to them too. Or the campus community has hundreds of them because people are all sharing their own scripts.
Right.
But I do think that, because that is a turnoff for some people, they say, well, what do you mean I can't update all that? If you ask them specifically what they're asking for, chances are we probably have a wizard to do that. It's just not everything.
And I know one of them was the question was free and reduced eligibility. Well, in Campus, if you use the free and reduced eligibility or the application management tools, you have a default date, and that default date by USDA rules is 30 days into your next school year. And there are wizard tools, because now in July, you start, or in January, February, March, you do your enrollment roll forward, and you still have kids coming into school doing applications. And there are tools to say update the expiration date for next year to this date, so that they still get 30 days in the next school year. So we have tools to help with that. And if you're using those free and reduced application tools, it automatically puts that end date 30 days in the next school year, giving you the ability to adjust that when your calendar gets finalized for the next school year. So those are things that people tend to think they need, but we have other solutions. But you still always have back-end access to write those SQL scripts for those one-offs, if you will.
The SQL scripts that are in the reports here, are they controlled by role? We can open those up.
Ask that again.
The ones that have the reports that have the get uploaded to this, is that controlled by role? Who can see those and open those up?
If you use SQL reporting services, you can put that report right in the index, and it is advised by security, right? So you can say, you get it, you get it, you get it, but you don't get to see it. So you can control what users or groups get to see it.
So those are reporting services, RDL.
Right, that's part of Campus, and you can enable it. You could run the reports and then embed those. If you're going to use them as reports, then you can embed them right into the tool area where they need to reside. So if you're writing enrollment reports, you're going to put it in student information inside their enrollment reports. Give it to the people who need to run it on a regular basis. You can run SQL scripts in the back end, generate the report of the file, and send it to people too. But if you embed it in here, then anybody can use it when they need it, or whoever has privileges to it. That make sense? Okay. Then I just wanted a couple of other things. We have data export. We talked about that. You can export it out. It's always going to be based on where you're running it from at the top, so it can change if you do it for all schools versus a single school. And then we have data analysis. And what data analysis allows you to do is it allows you to look at things in a pivot view or in a pie chart. Let me just. So if I want to look at this one, this was tuition types again. Again, it can pull any of those fields. These were the fields that I pulled, and then I can manipulate them around. So this is just a chart showing the grade levels, the gender, the student count. If I wanted to look at it in a pie chart, I could do that. And again, it's going to give you different ways of looking at your data, and that's a built-in tool. And it always pulls, you can refresh it and pull it from the latest and greatest changes. And I can edit the field list that I'm looking at. I can say, don't show it to me by age, show me it by primary language, and update it. And then it's going to look different again. So those are other ways to look at EMIS data other than just doing an extract that are built into Canvas. Okay. Any EMIS questions? Let me just review this quick and see if Michael, did you check off the list? Oh, assessments. Oh my gosh, I forgot assessments. Got to do assessments quick. So in Infinite Campus, we track assessments. So at the student level, general, we have assessments. So in the assessment area for the student, and you can give this to your teachers, they could come in and they could take a look at the test scores that they've had and the results. So this is just based on the import of information. It is historical, so it will follow the student from year to year, building to building, and continue to build. So a fifth grade teacher can see what they got in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade on their third grade reading tests. And in the assessment area, I gotta close some of these windows, I got too many open here. We have the test setup. And your test setup can be devised in a variety of ways. It can be generated by year, so that based on year basis, you see the test that were given. You can break it out. We can do parent test, subtest, and strand levels. So you can get right down to the strand levels. Or you can do it, here is the, I'm just looking for the third grade diagnostic, K3 diagnostic. So when you build that test, the parent test, you then build the things that you want to import. And then when you get that test file back, it could be MAPs or NWAs, DRAs, whatever, you import that in as a mass group, either for the entire district or for one school in the district. And the import wizard will give you a test so that you can take a look at it, import it in, and then it's available in the individual assessment file for each student. Okay? Any EMIS questions? Yes, Michael?
No, go ahead.
Oh.
We have schools, of course, that share students, like they may go to this school and then go to this other school for contract vocational. And at this point, they have what we call a shared student screen, so both schools can see the students' information, and see, like, percent of time, how much they have, so they can match it or whatever. Is there something similar to that?
No.
Partial enrollment.
Well, partial enrollment, but they're talking about two different, when the vocational schools have a student, they would have that student in their records, they would have an enrollment record, they would have a schedule, they would have their grades. At the other school, they would have that student in an enrollment record, they would have their grades, their schedules, because their schedules are different, they could be very different in both entities. So there's not a shared screen between the two, because remember, they're each going to have their own database. I know there's been discussion about that, which is one reason why we brought the state edition into Ohio, even though it's not being managed by the state. So you do have some, flexibility with looking at that information as it's all coming into that single database. But do you know if they've done anything else?
I know they're still looking at it, I don't think. anything
Yeah.
specific.
Kids can have multiple enrollment records, and you could have an enrollment record at their primary school, and then you could have a record showing that they go to one of the vocational schools. That's not state reported for you, because you can exclude that enrollment record. So at least you know where the student is at, but you're not reporting them unless you're supposed to report both records. So we have ways of controlling that, but there isn't a shared screen. And I think you'll find nobody else has that either. I don't think anybody else. I've done a ton of different student systems, and you guys, it's a very unique thing here in Ohio with ESIS. I don't know if Dazzle does it or not, but I know ESIS did it. Okay, I'm done with Amos then. Michael Aquay. Oh, now you get to switch again. Sorry.
No, 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 you're fine. We'll go ahead and get you back hooked up.
Just, do you need me to go to my email or any of that?
Yeah, there'll be another link in there. It's
Okay.
different from the first one. So just a regular Gmail. Let me see. There we go for you.
It's funny, I never use this except for instances like this. Oh, I gotta connect to the Wi-Fi. Would help.
Smart Public.
Got it. That was my fault. I just had my computer closed and back.
Not a problem.
What else? I won't need power, I don't think. Probably good, yeah.
That's what everyone's changed to. Probably came out yesterday.
There we go.
22nd.
Oh,
It should be PM.
there we go.
Yeah, you got it. Click, just get back and click. And then we'll just say a couple things. We'll go check box. Share button, and then we want to do full screen.
Sure.
Start screen share. That's it. You can go ahead and
Cool.
do whatever you need to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So I know this is the last segment, and it's a snowstorm, and people gotta go. Do we have any teachers in the room, just so I'm aware, or like instruction folks? Okay. We are going to focus on the. What's that?
We're handing halfway up.
She's like, I don't know if I want to volunteer for this.
But we are.
So we're going to look at the section 4, the last segment of the day. Teacher access. We already did home access this morning, so I think I'll go ahead and skip that. Look at a little bit of the assessment data analysis. Maybe I'll add a few things that Paul showed, but we'll see. So, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and log in as a school teacher. And what you'll be seeing now is a tool. I can't talk and type at the same time. You'd think I would be able to by now. There we go. We have come out this year with something called Campus Instruction. Somebody had asked about if there's an admin app that I mentioned has been developing. But currently, this is Campus Instruction. This is out for all teachers. It was in beta this year. It'll be GA this next summer. When you guys would be coming to look live, it would be completely out of the beta mode. So what is it? Well, when I log in, there's this app selector up top, and I can do my campus tools, which would be my traditional login, which we've been looking at. Or if I'm a teacher, I could go up and I could use the Campus Instruction app. Now, why would they do this? One, it's HTML5, which a lot of people like because it works well on iPads and tablets. It does not use Java. So it would work the gradebook right off of a tablet, Kindle, iPad, etc. And so that was one of the reasons. And two, they wanted teachers to be able to be mobile. I'm a gym teacher. I don't have an office. I don't have a desk. I got to take attendance still. I want to do it from my smartphone or my tablet or my Chromebook. So they've done a couple of things, and they've really simplified this index. You can see it's larger space, meant to be hit with your fingers, so that it's not as nice and neat like Paula's was with the expanding plus and everything. But within this are all the tools that you would need to be able to do through your daily tasks, from attendance to gradebook to printed report card to behavior referrals. So this home screen is sort of like the inbox of the normal product. When we log in, we have district notices and messages. But you'll see the first thing I would need to be able to do as a teacher is take attendance. So a couple of things to point out here. Photos can be added. This is called the roster view. You'll notice if I was going through the room and trying to mark Esme absent, I'd see that she was already in school suspension and was suspended today. So any of those attendance pieces that we looked at in the morning, you can kind of see from the teacher side now, where what do I view? A question I'm sure you'll get from teachers is, can we do our own seating charts, and can it be drag and drop? So yes, it is, meaning I can move my students around. I can have this be the default if I would rather come in and look at students at their tables rather than a roster. It's good for substitutes because they know where students should be seating and can see if somebody's messing around with them. But basically, I come in, I hit save, and then I go about my day. The attendance numbers dropped to 5. It was 6. I will no longer have a process inbox message saying make sure you remember to take attendance once that's enabled. That means when I submit that attendance, that warning or that inbox message goes away. So what do I need to do for the day? Well, first things first, I have a planner. I can look at this planner, and I'm going to highlight a couple of neat things you can do here. First of all, on my curriculum tab, and you can view this, I'm in the day mode, but you can view this by week or month, and you'll see any assignments that I've given any of my classes. I'll switch to the week mode here. You can see Mark Twain assignment. That was the one we kind of looked at the very beginning with the PowerPoint and all of that. That was assigned on December 8th. That's due January 9th. If this was also assigned in all my other classes, I would see that, so I would be able to have that option. I could modify assignments right from here if I need to. I could click in and go into the assignment detail. I could say, well, I'm only interested in looking at a certain period, so these are all my English classes, and then I have a homeroom, so if I want to include those. Now, right now, it's an organization tool. What assignments are coming up? What do I have for unit plans, things like that. But see how it says My Schedule, and then it says Other Schedules? Well, part of the reason they've done this is, first of all, I can look at my own schedule. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a little line telling me that it's 12:47, and I should be teaching period 5 English right now, and how many students are there. This concept of other schedules is neat, and it's the building blocks for what is coming. What I mean by that is right now I can search for and look at other teachers' schedules. If I were to go down here, hit search, open it up, and say, I need to have a planning session with somebody at this school. I'll just say high school and search. It's going to yell at me that I need to find, oh, there's my courses. So if I said I want to know what John is doing right now and hit save, it'll open that information up in the site. I could say, well, what's John looking like for his schedule today? And now what's coming is the concept of the drag and drop assignments from teachers to other teachers. So if I get together and I make an assignment, and it's a great assignment, and I give permission for other teachers to use that, they would be able to open this up, drag and drop, and then take those assignments that I've created in Infinite Campus. So it's kind of that concept of sharing. And the building blocks are there. Right now I can't do that, but they're starting with this, and they're rolling this out over the winter and summer here. This concept of dragging and dropping assignments is coming down the pipeline. Right now I can just look at other teachers' schedules, email them. I have my own kind of task list as well. So that's what you'll see here in this planning area. Color-coded, I can do some neat things like that. Now, what everybody always wants to see is the grade book. It's a big deal. We have a traditional grade book, and then I'm going to show you a standards-based grade book as well. So it starts off here. I'm an English teacher. This is my semester grade. So these are all my assignments across the top, and then all my students over here. Well, I can do some pretty neat things. For example, I can expand on any student. and we're given the display of the student. This is called box and whisker diagrams. So this tells me the student's score compared to the rest of the class. For example, in this particular assignment, he was way ahead of the rest of the class where the majority was right within this range, and this student was the top. We have built-in help. If I had no idea what I was looking at, I can come over and see how it changes to a question mark. I just click there and I get a little display on what is that box and whiskers diagram that I'm viewing. Over on the student, last time they logged in, any groups they might belong to, date of birth, and student ID. But what I like from a teacher perspective is I can actually hover over this login, and I can see not only Dylan, but I can see the last time his parents and guardians logged in. And she hasn't checked her son's grade since August 26th at 9:30 in the morning, 2013. So I might want to bring that up at conference time. Or, you know, it's a good tool if it says never, because maybe they don't even know about the portal, right? Maybe they don't have that information and they can't log in. So anytime I can expand that or collapse that. Now, we have some other settings, things like a spark line that show pretty well. Shows me throughout the term, how have my students been doing? Is it trending down? Do I have obvious gaps where they're missing assignments? Or is it, how are the scores doing throughout the entire term there? Just kind of a nice visual display. You can take any assignment, expand it, and you get the assignment level detail. So as I would be coming down here, this is where I would just enter in my scores. Now, a couple neat things. It's probably hard for the folks in the back, but next to Dylan it has OS, and next to Esme it has ME. When I hover over this, it tells me that that student had a medical appointment and was out sick that day. So without me bouncing around and I'm collecting papers at home during Sunday Night Football, I can look in here and say, on 9/03 when this assignment was due, this student was absent. Are we going to let them make it up so I can give them 2 weeks to make it up, or are we going to mark it missing and not allow them to make up that work, depending on your policy at your school? But it is nice to have that info right there. Any flags you want to use? Turned in, missing, late, incomplete, cheated, exempt, and dropped are your flags there. Those are all shortcuts. So as I'm typing in, if I just hit an M or an L, it will flag that as missing. This turned in is a nice function. A lot of other programs, if you don't have the scores in past the due date, it might show up as missing. It might show up as 0 points. What Campus does is I would come in and I can mark on top. I can just hit this T up here, mark them all turned in except for the students who didn't have it. And then on the portal, what that means is I've collected the assignment. I haven't graded it yet, but it's been received. And that's nice too if you have kind of like helicopter parents or students who are, you know, emailing you constantly about that. It's a good tool to have. Multi-score, fill scores and comments. Everybody who was present gets full credit on this. So I'm going to say point toward their semester grade, 7 points. Everybody who was present and has no cells filled in, no scores put in, is getting total credit for that. If they were here and they did it, they get the full credit. So some of those mass filling functions are nice as well. What else? We'll go ahead and collapse that. At any time, the teacher can always open up the grade totals. They're constantly going. So you'll see over here that I have my in-progress grades and my categories. And teachers can do unlimited categories. You can weight these. So maybe your quizzes and tests are worth more than your daily points. The schools can actually set these up if they want to and have all the categories pushed out. Or most schools will leave it up to the teachers during the training, and they'll set up the categories the way they want to. But all of these you can sort as well. So who's doing the best in quizzes? Who's doing the best with the daily work? I can sort any of those columns that I've created. What I like about Campus, and you guys can tell me if this is a lot different or not, but what happens is there's a grading window that's open. Teachers, we need to receive your grades by Friday at 4 o'clock, let's say. So somebody opens up what we call the grading window, which allows teachers to hit this button, post. If the grading window wasn't open right now in my demo site, I wouldn't see this post button at all. So it's only there when we're ready to collect the grades. What the teacher has to do is go in, hit post. Yes, it's going towards a semester grade. Grades will be posted upon a save. Done. So I just submitted all of my grades for report cards, and if I want to, or if mandated, I can have an area for report card comments. Whether those are canned comments, I can select from a list of approved ones, or I'm able to write my own. That would be up to the schools. But that's the whole grade submission process from a teacher side. Yes.
Whenever it's posting, is it posting like the 9 weeks mark and then an average at the same time? If it was the second 9 weeks?
Oh, I see. It could be that way. Yeah, so right now, I'm a cut and dry. This is their semester grade. But let's say that you take quarter 1 or 9 weeks and 9 weeks 2, and then you average them to get a semester grade. You can have that. It's called auto grading in campus. So what happens is the teachers, from the teacher point of view, I'm still posting my quarter grade or my 9-week grade, then I'm still posting the other one. But then the system will average out and submit the final grades for those students using the auto grading function.
Okay, there's a couple layers to the question.
Okay.
That's going to come.
Sure.
How about exams? If they had a first 9 weeks, a second 9 weeks, they want to have a standalone exam
Mm-hmm.
that calculates into a semester grade.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like 20% of their
Yes.
overall. Yep. Those scenarios.
Where would the exam grade be put in?
There's a couple of places you could do that. Most likely it's going to be a grading task. So in this particular course, I'm just responsible for the semester grade, and I'm also doing some standards. I'm doing applying knowledge of content-specific vocabulary would be an example of a standard we talk to that course. So what I would see in your scenario would be grading tasks. If you call them 9 weeks, it would be first 9 weeks, second 9 weeks, and semester exam here, where I could put those scores in.
An exam would be a standalone 20%. Now, could you also include it as part of the 9 weeks if a district needed to do it that way too?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have what's called teacher scored assessments too. If it's any of those scenarios, I'm going to jump out later and show the course file a little bit, but there's an assessments tab on that where you can tie assessments to courses, and then those become teacher scored assessments where they're responsible for putting in the scores, if that's something you would like.
Okay. And then one more layer.
Sure.
Can you have a 4-year class, scheduled as a 4-year class on the student schedule, but they give, they want first 9 weeks, second 9 weeks, a first semester exam, an average, then a third 9 weeks, fourth 9 weeks, a second semester exam, and second semester average, because they award credit on the averages, but they don't want 2 separate classes scheduled.
I might have to have you re-say that, but I'm going to open up something for a second just to show you where this is all done at. If we're just taking a look at English, for example, we have this tool called composite grading. That's what you're talking about. Where we come in, it's our job to have these grading tests in here, but what you would say is, it's not going to be your exact scenario, but I could say, for the semester 2 grade, semester assessments worth 20%, first 9 weeks is worth 40%, other 9 weeks is worth 40%. And so this is set up on the course. So when those teachers are submitting them, so 9 weeks is over, submit your grades. Second 9 weeks is over, submit your grades. The system will automatically calculate the composite final grade for those courses. The teachers don't have to go
And when you
repost.
say final grade, the composite would be that semester average.
Yes.
Okay, now, what if they want to override the grade?
Well, it would be up to your policy, but as long as that grading window's open in campus, they can override that.
They can override a composite grade too that's calculated.
But we,
That could be either way. That one can be locked down, or that can be something that they're able to open and modify.
What's that again?
We don't want the teachers though to be in the position to put that 40-40-20 in for the semester grade. We want to put it in.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep. And so you could do.
Okay, I just want to make sure we.
No, I agree.
they don't do it.
I agree.
Okay.
And so what would happen is that would be done. Well, do you guys have a full course catalog?
Mhm.
You could do it at that level, the course master level, or they could be done on the course tab, like we're seeing. But absolutely. And while I'm here, I'll point out a few other things for those other questions. Just like remember when I logged in as Melissa Grawl and I saw the supply knowledge of content. So whenever we want to add a standard, we have a full standards bank in campus. We can add standards to the course on the standards tab, which automatically make those teachers responsible for submitting a grade for those. So a lot of schools are doing things like, we want a quarter grade, but we also have to show accomplishment of these standards. or put Common Core standards in, or
And but some of us, because of the fact that Ohio gets complicated sometimes in the standards, or Common Core standards, we have them, shrunk down to 5 or 6, so we can put our own in as well.
Yep, absolutely. It would be either converted during our conversion process, or it would be something you manually put in one time. But the idea is that we get the standards from our standards bank tied to that course.
Okay.
However we do that would be fine. So we have the composite grading, we have standards. Our terminology is called grading tasks. So what I mean by a grading task would be, and this is when the GPAs can be calculated off of this. So we're getting in a little deep here. Of course, this would all be trained. But on this English course, we give a half a credit at the end of semester 1 and a half a credit at the end of semester 2. And I would imagine that you guys are using a district-wide scale that you mandate. 85 is a B, 86 is a B plus, things like that.
In some districts or some buildings even have multiple scales.
Sure.
So it's okay.
Yep, you can do them down to the grade level if you want. Or if you want to give teachers the ability, they can do them in their own classrooms as well. So there's really a lot of flexibility.
Never on that one, but.
That's not a good idea.
On the composite grading.
Yeah.
Can you set up your grading scale and populate it to all the courses at one time?
Oh, so you're not talking about this now?
No. There's my breakdown. But I want to be assigned that to all my courses. I don't have to go to each individual course and set that up, do I?
Yeah, no, you don't. What you would do, well, first of all, we would either convert them, so there's no putting it in, or on the course master, you would do it one time. All of those courses fall from that course master. And then you can lock it down, too. Say there's no modifying of this. We won't let them modify the course names. We won't let the schools modify the GPA amounts. Does that make sense? So this is a big part of the system. When we're looking at the course, we have these grading tasks, which we define when credit is earned. Every time credit is earned, you control the GPA too. So if you have AP courses and you use a 5-point scale, that's fine. IB courses or anything like that might have a different scale, you can use those as well. So it is very flexible. It is a little different way of thinking though. That idea of I think a lot of systems say on this date we're going to collect it, or this week we're going to collect it, where in campus, you can open and close that grading window whenever you want to. And when you do that, they're able to submit their grades. And that is something we definitely can do. Kentucky does that scenario a lot.
And Paula had answered.
Okay.
We also have some that don't have the 2-semester averages. They have what we call a flat grade book.
That's fine.
Okay.
And you probably have some composite where it's year long. And that yeah, definitely. As far as
the people on the road end have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it may be useful to explain that.
Sure. So what I'm saying for the people on the phone as well is just that in the scenario that you're seeing on the screen, we have grading tasks of semester grade. But in the composite grading area, you're able to say what an overall grade, in my case it'd be a semester grade, is a certain percentage of the 9 weeks grades as well as the assessment grade. And so the scenario on the board is basically just saying that it's 9 weeks plus an exam equals semester 1, and then the same is said for the second semester. So 9 weeks, semester.
And those would be the grading terms, grading tasks. Where he has semester, you would see that information.
Yeah.
Because you guys build that into your Infinite Campus, not hardcore yet.
Yours would look like, I could do it right now. Yours would say final grade or whatever you want to call it. You would use your district-wide score group or scale. You would define what credit is earned on. I believe you earn credit in your schools at each semester. It's not at the end of the year.
Some do, some don't.
It depends. Okay. But we can accommodate that, definitely. Let's talk for a second about transcripts and GPA. All of our GPA calculations, cumulative, we can do term GPA calculations, class ranks, all of those we have as canned reports. But what they look at is they look at the transcript. Because they want to know when credit is applied at the end of the semester, we have a tool that's called post-transcript. So this can be run district-wide or each school or ITC. But basically what it's doing is it's taking all of those grades that teachers submitted and it's posting them permanently to their transcript. It's a one-time thing. I kind of lost my train of thought. But that's where the GPA so as soon as you would post the transcripts, that's when you have the updated GPA, class rank, everything, because it's looking at that credit that was earned, what was their score, was it a weighted scale or not? Because maybe if I was taking wasn't.
Right now, the way my district's doing it is that we export the grades out of Pinnacle into, then import them into Dazzle, and then we
Sure.
generate the report cards. So as long as I have that post date, and everything has to be posted by 4 o'clock on Friday, then on Friday, 4 o'clock, we can run report cards.
Yep.
Okay.
And you have a lot of reports like show me all the teachers who didn't submit, and you have a nice audit report built in. I'll actually just show this real quick. You have inside all of the reports that I've been talking about, by the way, are all in grading and standards. So grading and standards reports. You have your class rank. You can do it weighted with AP bonus, unweighted, or unweighted with AP bonus. You guys use bonus points in Ohio? It's typically an East Coast thing.
Yeah,
But
but we do have some custom GPAs that relate to AP.
Got it.
bonds.
Term GPA, this one you can run, it's a canned report, or you can pull this in through our query tools as well. We have the transcript audit. This is what I was referring to. This report will say, show me any students that have a different teacher submitted grade that is different than what their transcript submitted grade is. So somewhere along the way, somebody either modified that transcript or that teacher changed the score after they submitted everything. So it's kind of a take a look at these things audit report.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
When we talked about the posting,
Mm-hmm.
at semester times, our schools will generate a rank, we call it like a semester rank, on a projected semester average. But then at the end of the year, they switch from semester average to a year end to be the official on the transcripts award the credit. So when you did that post to transcript, it's a temporary on semester average. When they post again on the final, will that override it?
So, let me just make sure I'm understanding your question. This is the post grades to transcript where I could run in and do it for multiple schools or one, but I would basically take all of the credits, all the grade levels I want, and hit run. It's going to look at the semester submitted grades by the teachers, and it's going to post them to their permanent record. If I run a GPA report off that, this is where it's looking at, their recent transcript.
Okay.
At the end of the year, as long as, and I assume you do, as long as you update the transcript or do another post, then it's going to look at the end of the year information
Final.
to
Okay.
calculate that.
Okay.
A little bit confusing, but
No, I think we're on the same page.
okay.
Basically, when you the post marks, that's what you're using to generate reports with the
Exactly.
assist side, so to speak.
Exactly.
And then when you repost, okay.
Yep, exactly. And there's term, there's cumulative. We have something called a rolling cumulative GPA, which you might be interested in.
The 9 weeks plus the
Yes,
semester.
and it's basically guessing, or it's assuming what yours would be at the end of the year,
Okay.
which it sounds like is very similar. Good questions. So yeah, within the grading and reports, and again, what Paula showed, I should point this so I'm not trying to jump around on you too much, but you can do custom GPAs as well. And you said some of your schools have a custom one. Things I've seen is maybe like an NCAA honors. Well, for that you need these courses, you need to be these, so you can set up your own GPA functions in Canvas, which is nice. You can choose to do weighted, not weighted, bonus points like we talked about. Bonus points, just so everybody knows, I don't think you do it, but you took this hard course. It's not an AP course, but it's very hard. We're going to give you 1 GPA bonus point for taking this college level course, and it actually just plugs it in. So if I had a 2.0, I would have a 3.0 because of that bonus point. So not many schools across the country do that. They mostly use weighted. This is a 5-point scale AP course, for example. All right. So yeah, all of those reports are in grade standards. What Paula showed, if I wanted to, and I can tie this kind of into our ad hoc reporting, maybe I just want to go into our data analysis tools and visually look at all the grades. You can do things like that. Create queries, maybe share it with all the counselors. I could pull all that information in through these tools that she highlighted a little bit. That concept that we talked about was sharing, whereas if we create one and drop it into the principals folder, all the principals would be able to use it then. And somebody in the back had a question about user rights. It does look at your rights, which other companies will not, meaning if I'm given access to create a query, I'm only going to be able to create a query with data that I have the rights to see. Other systems, if you give them their report writing rights, they just get everything. I could pull special ed, I could pull eligibility, even if I'm not supposed to. So just something to be aware of. Well, where was I? I was in as a teacher. Okay, so gradebook, I'm just going to highlight the standards-based gradebook. So now it probably makes more sense when we come to this English course that I showed. Notice how it's the semester grade, and then on that standards tab I attach 2 standards, and that's why they're showing here. So when I select that, it becomes a rubric-based scoring system, which is pretty slick. 4321, ESIN, any type of rubric that your schools are using. And then what the system can do, so think of it as basically showing evidence of a student being proficient in this standard. That's really what we're doing. Because of all of these scores, we think that Dylan is proficient in this particular standard. But you can actually tell the system how to calculate that. And so it's very small for you in the back, but you can do something called the power law trend, which is a linear regression a lot of schools use. It sounds like that might be what you use, but mode of last 3, 5, or most recent. And so what that ends up with, and I just have a couple examples here for you, but we have things where you can say I want to do a standards-based report card, but I want that grouped by standard. Let me make this a little bigger for everyone. So a lot of schools have a scenario like this where you come in, you still want to give them a quarter grade or a 9 weeks grade or whatever, but then you also want to show accomplishment of these standards. So it's a combination of both. Maybe it's a full standards. I don't think they're seeing this on the computer, are they? Oh, they are? Cool. Maybe it's something like this second grade PDF example where it's just pure, but we want something like our DIBELS assessment scores or another score. So I kind of have a lot of these different scenarios. But what Canvas does is provides you hundreds, I don't know if it's hundreds, lots of different options for do you want class rank, do you want student photo, do you want counselor's name, and then you really choose the layout because each grade might have a different report card, right? Actually, they probably do. They probably all look different. And I can leave this with you if folks want to take a deeper look, but these are just some examples of report cards. So long story short, they're coming from here where I'm putting in evidence and I'm calculating a score, hitting save and submitting that in. Now the big question I get a lot is, well, our kindergarten teachers don't use a gradebook, right? We have put some tools in that let you do this, where I can bypass all of those assignments in the gradebook completely, and I can just go to the post grades tool, and this is where I can put in my comments and my report card grade and just do it that way. And maybe I have, you know, a big red gradebook or something else, but I can bypass using that gradebook and still do report card comments and all of that for your report cards that come out of Infinite Campus. A couple other highlights here. Standardized tests. Now this is neat. Teachers can choose, you guys can choose to turn this on or off for teachers, but maybe for my class I'm interested in how they did on the recent ELA assessment, or any assessments that you imported using the tool that Paula showed. Well, this is pretty slick. I could say show me all of the students' percent. I'm interested in their absence count. I'm interested in their discipline. And I also want to know their scale score. So just on the fly from my tablet, I'm able to open that up and look at all of those types of pieces of information, which I think is pretty neat for a teacher to be able to do that. Lockers, course requests, seating charts. Student groups is pretty interesting. This is where I talked about earlier today where we might have teachers team or co-teaching. And maybe I have a certain group of the students on certain days and the other teacher has them on the other days. Well, I could have maybe a red group, blue group, or an at-risk group or anything like that. And what this allows you to do is differentiate instruction in the classroom. So I could say these students are getting this assignment because maybe it's an advanced assignment or something like that, whereas the rest of the class would have a more traditional assignment. And unless I'm in that group, I don't ever see that that other assignment exists. I'm completely exempt from it. I don't see it on the portal. I don't see it as a missing assignment or anything like that. A lot of your reports come in through here. So let's look at an actual assignment. I'll just show the creation of an assignment, and then I'll see what questions folks have. I'm going to go into the gradebook. You can add it from the planner. You can add from the, oh, I have to show the roster. So before I do that, when we look at a roster from a teacher's, these are the flags that Paula was talking about, the health issue, the legal issue, any of those program flags that teachers should see. But notice that I have an IEP, I have a PLP, a personal learning plan, and then I have an RTI, response to intervention, if you guys are doing those plans as well. All this is including the core product, the ability to create those plans. And let's say the system knows I'm the teacher of a student, and that student has a locked plan. So based on my schedule, the dates that I have that student is when I have access to this information. So what I can do is I can go in and I can deliver an intervention for an RTI plan right from. Were you guys shown this, the RTI stuff? Does that ring a bell? Doesn't look like it. So what I could say is I worked with Dylan today from 8:50 to, that would be a long time, to let's say 9:40, 50 minutes. Dylan got a 45 and I put in some comments here. Well, I saved that. And what you have is an ongoing historical record of the comments that a teacher was working with on a Behavior 1 intervention. How's that student trending based off the scores that we put in? Maybe that's a success. Maybe we need to start a Tier 2 intervention. So we do the intervention for reading, mathematics, and behavior. And the editors to create these plans are in the core product of Infinite Campus, along with IEPs and PLPs and 504 plans.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So let's say that they're at a Tier 2 and they go to Title I reading.
Mm-hmm.
Does the Title I reading teacher have access to enter this information
Absolutely.
for that student?
Yep. Remember that section staff idea?
Yes.
Yep, that's where you would do it.
To piggyback on her question, if they're doing Title I, there's a state reporting program code with it. If that's put in their plan, will that report to the state? Will it pull out for?
I would need to know a little bit more about that.
It's a 6-digit code that has to be put in for the list. Yeah, to be
What's
reported
the
to
extract that it's included on? Do you know?
The GQ record.
Will you write that
program
down,
code.
Mike? I don't know, but I can check for you.
Okay. And then another layer.
GQ, yeah.
How about the reading improvement monitoring plans? We call them RIMPs.
Well,
Do you have those plans?
You can do it. So this is how it works. Basically, what we do under student information, you see this PLP area where we'll stick with the same student, Dylan, here. Now, what we do is we provide the editors to create the plans. So I would say you probably can do that, but what I mean by that is I come in here, I say new document, and we say plan. This is where we have a 504 BIP plan, enrichment, functional behavior, PLP, RTI, so on. We're providing you the editors to create your own plans within Infinite Campus is
So
what
if
we're
they
doing.
created a reading improvement monitoring plan, that would show up there, then they would check that box.
Absolutely. And then it would have goals, objectives, family demographics, team meetings, who's working with the student, all of that, based on what you want your plan to look like.
And RIPs are statewide, so I'm actually surprised they're not already there.
Yeah,
And
but
they could
there
be,
is- Yeah, there is
too.
a state form.
Oh, if there's a state form, let me show you something else you can do. And this is probably what other Ohio districts are doing.
The state recommended form, it's not a required form.
That's great though, because if you can provide me that, or during the implementation, you can do what's called simple forms in campus. So let's say, and this is a McKinney-Vento form, which I know isn't the same, but yeah, exactly, it's a homeless form. So what you can do though is create these as FDFs, and see how that's pulling in all of Dylan's information. So you take that state-approved form, you pop it in there, and then that's where you electronically store it. And it monitors who modified it last. You can lock them so they can't open them once they've been locked. Lots of different tools that I'm kind of hodgepodging into you at the end of the day today, but this can be a big time saver if you don't have to put in all the addresses, demographics, guardian info, because you're pulling it from the database. So,
It's not time, I mean, that would be a whole lot less time consuming than what we're currently doing.
Yes.
yeah. And it would be, what I like about it too, or feedback from districts, is that it's nice that it's uniform. Everybody's using this form at all the schools. And when I come to this documents area, it would be under forms. You see who created it, when, is it locked? So you kind of have some of that detail, and that will stay in this system forever. You know, unless you want to archive them eventually, it's going to stay in the 14-15 school year under forms indefinitely. And then you can make it available in the portal if you want to. So there's a lot of options.
What we did now is we discovered the way we were doing it is one teacher could delete them all after so chose. And so chose one time by accident.
Just accidentally, yeah.
A little bit of prayer, we did get it back.
Get a backup from the company, yeah. Okay, so this gives you a general idea of those plans, which I think are a big part of the campus. And just like if I, go to response to intervention, same concept. Who's working with the student? Here's the documents where you're going to find the RTI plan. It's locked. That's why I'm able to see it as a teacher, because if it's not locked, I can't access it and deliver interventions. All right. I'm going to go back in as a teacher and finish this up. But these are really good questions that I'm getting, and it is near the end of the day, so make sure to ask any questions. What was I doing? So I showed the roster. I think we're good on that. One thing that's nice is with our Infinite Campus included special ed, I'm a teacher. I am working with Dylan. It knows that because it knows my schedule, so it knows that I'm teaching Dylan because it looks at his schedule, and that gives me read-only access to the IEP. So I don't have to, what Paula was talking about, I don't have to go to my desk and get the paper copy. I have it right here on my tablet or whatever. Maybe it's just accommodations, maybe it's the full IEP. This is nice from a teacher. You can also prove that teachers have access to the IEPs, which is a state law, at least in Minnesota. I would bet it is here too. So, that's the roster. I think, we looked at the grade book. I think I looked at the standards base pretty well. Teacher questions from anybody. Mike, am I doing all right on these questions? LMS one, I think I covered that okay today. Oh, that's what I was doing. Okay, so when I look in the grade book and I modify an assignment, just so you can see that side, because we saw what the Mark Twain assignment looks like from the student side. If I go and I take a look at that Mark Twain assignment, which is right one of these. There it is. Open it up. Here's what a teacher sees when they create an assignment. By the way, teachers can roll forward their assignments every year. So if I take a lot of time and this is a great assignment and I made a PowerPoint for it, I'm probably going to want to use it year in and year out. So, name, required, abbreviation, which classes is it going into? So, picture me as a secondary teacher with 5 English sections. I do it one time. Click here and it's applied to all of my sections. This is a question from the report. It says, can you align assignments with multiple standards? I can, and in addition to grading tasks. So I create this Mark Twain assignment. I say it's worth 100 points. But you know what? This is also going to be great evidence for them to apply knowledge of content-specific vocabulary, and I want to use a rubric for that. So you can do one assignment to multiple things. Then you get into the information for students, and this is when I was talking about the LMS functionality. We have a Google Drive Mark Twain video. We have this says, as we start a new American unit, blah, 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 watch the Google Drive video on Mark Twain, and please attach your work.
Okay, this is just linking to the Mark Twain video that's out on Google Drive. That's in your Google Drive.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So there's 2 ways to look at it. We can click that now from the teacher perspective. I click here. I'm a teacher, and this is my Google Drive with PowerPoints and all my documents. But I'm sorry, I'm just sitting right in front of you guys.
Is there any link then to Google Classroom or no?
No, but the teachers can provide a URL link in an area where it's right next to their course when the kids go into the portal.
Okay.
So there is an option to get them there, but not from here. But maybe I don't have anything on my Google Drive. I have it all on my desk drive. Then just down below here is where you can just attach them from anywhere, like a simple email attachment. Add files, find it. The district or the schools can set a maximum for teachers if they want to, and that's where I'm adding those files.
So that's actually sitting in the LMS system with the same server that's holding the gradebook in the database.
Exactly. Yep. And then each year you get X number of data, and then you decide if you want to limit teachers or buy more from us. But we provide a pretty fair amount. I don't know exactly, but it's pretty good size before you have to pay for it.
Okay.
And to wrap this up, this is pretty slick. We come in and maybe I want to use an online assessment. I mentioned this at the very beginning.
You did mention it.
What happens is I can search by standards. I can search by grade level, tags. I could say I'm really looking for a 10th grade assessment that's been published for English, search. And it didn't find any. But let me go ahead and just clear these and just show you. If I hit search, what you're seeing here are all of the published assessments. What standards are those assessments tied to? Right? So I come in, I'm an English teacher, and I really think it'd be great for them to use this, but I want to preview this assessment before I use it. The mentor of Lost Children in Oliver Twist was named Slimy Mudball, His Royal Shyness, The Artful Dodger, Fagin. Wait, no. I don't remember back to English.
That was Fagan.
All right, submit next. So you kind of get the idea, but multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank, an essay, and true false. Here's one. Which novel begins with the famous line, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times? Good. You guys are killing it over here. Tale of Two Cities. So you get the idea. I preview it. I like it. I use this, and now it's available for students to take through the portal. I give them a window. We can do things like randomize all the answers and questions. So therefore, for what Billy was, it wasn't, question 3 is C, question 4 is A, question 5 is B. It's random for every student what the correct answer is, which is trying to prevent the cheating. You could set a time on it, so as soon as they start and open that assessment, you get 5 minutes or whatever time you want to set. So there's a lot of those tools built in as well. But again, the teachers don't have to use it. They can use it. It would be up to the schools if it's something that they would want to utilize.
Is there the ability to upload test questions and test bank questions and stuff that you already own?
There is. There's not a mass import tool for it. What system is it coming from, I guess, would be my first deep question.
And I can't remember. It's the same we pull into Moodle, but I don't.
Okay.
No, it's up in my head.
I mean, you can copy paste. Depending on which system it is, we could do that during the conversion process. We could convert your test bank items over, or they could be manually keyed in. So those are kind of your 3 options. Yes, sir.
Could you just create a template, if the student has a form on their hand but answering online, just to A/B, like a multiple choice?
Yep. Yep, multiple choice. Those 5 formats.
Yeah, they don't have to be, they can have the question in their hand and just be a blank answer sheet.
Yep. Exactly. Yes, sir.
I missed one part. You talked about storage space. What all does that apply to, the storage space?
Yeah. Mike, do you know offhand, like the storage space that we give districts prior to them having?
LMS? No, it's just for the LMS, and I don't know offhand what that is, but I can find that out.
He doesn't know the size requirements.
That doesn't affect the standard SIS. The SIS is unlimited size, and that's equal. Okay. This is for the LMS stuff because you'll have attachments and videos.
This is for the online assessment piece, yeah. But so what I was saying, you might be referring to what I said, is that the schools, we give you a certain amount. Then you can limit teachers or schools by putting a max on them.
Okay.
Yep.
But there is a limit on what we have, what the district has available for total.
Yes, that's for free, and then you can always buy additional.
Is it based on ADM, or how's it based?
Based on pure size, right? Or how much is it given to you based on? Everybody.
Digital repository?
Yeah.
Based on the number of students, you will, in Infinite Campus, when you say you want to use the digital repository, it calculates the allowed space. and then it comes back into the, where you agree to use the digital repository, it comes back, shows you how much allocated space you have based on the district size. And then as you use the digital repository, it's going to show you and track how much usage you have and how much you've used, what's left and what you've used. And it's $2.50 per gigabyte beyond the free space. But I don't remember how much it is.
And we can find out exactly how much free space you get. Might be on the community or something with if you're online, Paul. Paul could probably look it up right now. You're
But
welcome.
when you're storing those, or teacher videos, you're not storing student videos that they created for assignments, et cetera.
Correct, correct. And you know a good way to get around that, before we had this capability,
We're a Google district. so
yeah,
we're
they do
covered.
Google Drive, or before Google Drive I was using Dropbox, you know, so there's a lot of other options for that, but now we provide that storage too. So, questions from the teacher perspective, grading. This is kind of probably the end of the day, so questions about implementation or hosting options or really anything that folks are curious about. And was there any confusion about any of the handouts, like the premium products or the district edition? I wish they would update this. If we're doing the hosting, Campus Data Extract Utility is not a premium product. That is free. But for those, yeah, if we're doing the cloud hosting for that, which tends to be most people these days, that does not cost extra. It's if the servers are on site. That
We've
data.
got that all lined out for Dave.
Oh, he's got it all? All right. Never mind then. He has all the information. Any questions from the tech staff about anything at all? Very good. We have a lot of tools I didn't show today. A combined person tool, for example. So if there is duplicate data, we have the tool to merge those two people. We have what's called the data health utility. Were you showing that at all from Shelley? Okay. It's basically during the conversion, where are your problems? And it highlights we have duplicate data, we're missing guardians, we're missing addresses. It's kind of a nice sheet that shows as that data conversion is happening, how's it looking? Anything to add, Mike? Paula? Everybody can drive home in the snowstorm safely, hopefully? All right.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us in. Of course, you have Mike's info. If there's follow-up questions, I can handle it. He'll send me those. We can always do a WebEx if people want to follow up with a certain group of users. So, all sorts of options. But thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
So like